In this video we're going to look at how to calculate the volume of a cylinder, and to do that we're going to use this formula here. Volume is equal to pi r squared h. Now this is not a formula you'll be given on your formula sheet, so this is one that you will need to learn off by heart. A good way to do that is just remember a cylinder is a prism. It's just a circular prism. That circle runs all the way through and it's constant in its size and shape all the way through. So it is a prism. And remember, the formula for the volume of a prism is volume equals area of the constant cross section multiplied by the height. And that's really what you have here. If you look at this part here, the pi r squared is our formula for the area of a circle. And this is times the h. So the h part's the same, and the a is the area of a circle, which is this pi r squared part here. And obviously within this we have r for radius and h for height of the cylinder. So overall this formula is quite easy to use. The first question here, our first example, we're asked to calculate the volume of the following cylinders and give your answer to two significant figures. So here's our first cylinder we're asked to find the volume of. So the very first thing we're going to do is recognise, well, it's a cylinder, and I'm going to write down the volume of a cylinder formula, which is pi r squared times h. And then all I've got to do is identify what goes into those spaces. So pi is still going to just be pi. R, anytime you're given an equation which has either r or d for radius or diameter in it, always double check that you're given the correct one in the diagram. So r stands for radius. I'm going to check that this 6 here, I'm happy that that is the radius. The radius goes from the centre of the circle to the outside, so I'm going to use the 6 in that space. So pi times r squared becomes 6 squared times h, and the height of this cylinder here is 4, so times 4. All I've got to then do is type all of that into my calculator, and I end up with 452.389. Now this question here does ask me to round to two significant figures. It won't always do that. Sometimes it may ask you to round to decimal places. Sometimes there might not be a rounding condition at all, in which case use your judgment and be one or two decimal places. But here, two significant figures. So let's have a look. That's my first significant figure, my second significant figure. So I'm going to put a dotted line down here and look at this number to tell me whether to round up or round down. So the 2 tells me to round down, so that's going to remain as 45, and I need to work out, well, that 4 represents 400, so there's 3 digits to the decimal point, so I need to add an extra digit so I know where the decimal point is. Now that's the two significant figures. The second thing is it's volume, so it's centimetres for our lengths, so because it's a volume it's going to be cubic centimetres for our volume. We'll now look at the next question, which we have a similar idea. So we're asked to find the volume of the cylinder. Again, correct the two significant figures. So let's start off with our formula. Volume equals pi r squared h, and start to fill it in. So that's pi multiplied by, and again, when we get this r or d in a formula, radius or diameter in a formula, we've got to double check that we have what we're actually being asked for. So we're being asked for radius in the formula, but this 8 here is from one side of the circle to the other. So the 8 there is the diameter. If I want to use radius in the formula, I need to know what the radius is. So the radius is the distance from the centre to the top. So the radius in this case would only be 4. Just down the side here, I'm going to put diameter equals 8. Therefore radius is half of that, so 4. So pi times 4 squared times h. Now, in this question here, remember when we did volume of a prism, the h for height was really the distance between the kind of constant cross section. So even though that says h, and you might associate this more with height, what we're doing in this cylinder formula is the h will always represent the distance between the two circles. So we use this formula, we're imagining the cylinder actually standing up on one of the circles. So in this case, h is the distance, or in all cases, the h is the distance between these two circles. So that is going to be 11. We type all of that into our calculator, and we end up with 552.92. And remember, we need to round this to two significant figures, so we're going to make a cut-off after two significant figures, so after this 5, and we're going to look at this next number, which is the 2, and then because it's a 2, we're going to round down. That's going to stay as 55, but again, that 5 represents 500, so I need to have 3 digits before my decimal point. And that is again centimetres for length, so cubic centimetres for volume.